Hey, this is Derica, your host on the Happiness Recipe Show 2.0, where top experts are sharing their personal stories of how they broke through their own fear and resistance and into their happy life, and how you can do the same. I'm very excited to speak with our top expert today, Rico Racosky. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
An honor and a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go right into your bio so we can all get to know you a little bit better. And then we'll get into those juicy questions. Okay?
Okay, let's go. I'm
All
excited.
right. So he is a transformational coach, author, and speaker. Who better to speak on setting the best course for success than a former fighter jet and commercial airline pilot? Rico Racosky has flown jets for over 35 years, but beyond being a pilot, he's also an international best-selling author and radio talk show host who has spoken to thousands of people, all of all ages, presenting his goal-attaining strategies to audiences across the country. Rico grew up in a small coal mining town full of self-doubt and lacked a clear direction in life. Along the way to living his dream of becoming a fighter jet and airline pilot, he developed a strategy for clear and effective decision making that launched his entrepreneurial path, and he's now determined to share his strategy and impact with as many people as possible. Yes, yes, yes. Woohoo! Thank you,
Yeah.
Rico.
Well,
That's an
thank you, Derek.
amazing bio.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yes. Okay, so if you can just dive in a little bit more and tell us your story and really what led you to be doing what you do today.
If you go back to high school, mine goes back to high school. Maybe yours back sooner. Actually, my wanting to fly goes back about 2 years old. But
Yeah.
in high school, I got this note, and the note that came in said, "Go see the guidance counselor." So you're used to that kind of stuff. I'm from a small town, and so I went up to the guidance office, and I went in there, and of course, she asked me what I wanted to do, and I said I wanted to be a pilot, and I liked art, and I wanted to go to be a pilot. She looks at my grades, and she doesn't say much because my grades weren't top notch. So I don't remember what she talked about or anything that she talked about during, but the session was over, and I start to walk out of the guidance office, and I'm just about out the door. And I turn and I hear this, "Mr. Racosky," and I turn around and I politely say, "Yes, ma'am." And she says, "You're never going to be a pilot. You need to go to a junior college." And I wasn't upset. Remember, I'm halfway out the door here looking back. I wasn't upset or anything, but I acknowledged her and thanked her for her comment. And as I started to walk down the hall toward the gym in my next class, I kind of saw like these two paths in front of me. And let's just say the one on my right was flying, which I always wanted to do. And the one on my left was like junior college. And I said, that doesn't sound right. I wasn't angry. It just didn't sound right. And you know how it is. I mean, you work with this in your work all the time. I felt it in my heart. It said, that's not the path to go. Aviation's the path to go. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And so probably about 10 years later, so now I'm in my late 20s, 27, 28, and I'm packing up all my gear at a high school. So I got asked to come in and talk to the kids about aviation and career in aviation. So I'm packing up all my fighter pilot gear and stuff. I'm putting my helmet back in a bag, and these two teachers come up to me and they say, "Hey, could you stick around tomorrow and come over and talk to our 4th and 5th graders about aviation, positive choice, dreams, careers, that kind of stuff?" And I honestly, I looked at them and I just said, "It seems a little abstract for that age, isn't it?" And their eyes got big as saucers, as a mom, their eyes got super big. And they said, "Oh no, they're going to get it." I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll come by tomorrow." So they put me in a gymnasium. So you can imagine the echo, 100-something kids, 4th and 5th graders in a small town, rural town. And I just started showing them the equipment, the fighter pilot helmet and the gear, the G suit, stuff that we wore. So everybody got all excited, let them come up and try it on. And then I said, I've had this dream since I was 2 years old. What are some of your dreams or goals? And a girl, I said, please stand up and tell me your name and tell me what your dream or goal is. Because when I said, who has a dream or goal? If there were 100 kids, there were 200 hands. You know how it is. You're a mom. Everybody was like, yeah, I want to tell. I want to tell. So I looked to my left, and I'll never forget it. I was so shocked. I looked up and I said, what's your name? And she goes, my name's Jill, and I want to be the team doctor for the Detroit Pistons, a fourth grader. I went, I looked over at those two teachers. They looked at me like, I told you so. you know?
We
So
got it.
yeah, and so I was expecting something different. Being a rural, I'm from a small town, and I was expecting something in a rural town of being a little bit different than maybe what was in the suburbs or in other parts of the world, but I've learned over the years that they all have the same database. I've worked with Native American kids on, with the Sioux and the Cherokee and the Navajo, and I've worked with inner city and suburban and rural, and it's like there's this giant database. They all know what's out there.
Yeah, they do now.
So,
It's called internet.
yep. And so I just, I got done with that day. Well, actually what I said to him was I said, make a peace sign and then turn it sideways like this. And I said, this is all you need to know. There are just two choices in your life. Make the choice that always points upward toward your dream or your goal on your index finger. That's what's going to take you to your dream or goal. Always have that just two choices opportunity in front of you every moment. Because if you make these other choices that go with where your other finger is, then you're going to be taking you further away from your dream or goal. If you don't study, if you don't practice your sport, your musical instrument, you don't read books you're supposed to read, or, it's going to take you listen to the wrong crowd. You're going to be going down this direction. So when it comes to making a choice toward your dream or goal, always make one that takes you upward, like your index finger, just two choices.
That's powerful.
And so after that was over, and I don't know how long it took, probably several weeks, at least maybe a couple months. And all of a sudden it dawned on me. I thought back to my walking out of that meeting with my guidance counselor, where I saw two paths, and the path on the right was to go fly. And I go, hey, I'm doing it. I learned about just two choices 10 years ago. And so at that particular point, I became committed to helping kids, learn about just two choices and living their dreams. And I come from an alcoholic, an alcoholic family background in the early years. Dad and mom, it all got straightened out later on, but after we left home. But it was one of those things where it was really tough in the early years. And so, I know what it's like to go after a dream that somebody wants to push you into instead of following your own heart. And so that was the biggest thing for me, was that I could look these elementary school kids in the eye and say, you just have to do this because you want to do it, not because your grandma or your aunt or your uncle or somebody else wants you to do it. You got to do it because that's what you feel in your heart that you want to do. And so I look at my growing up situation in the family as those were all gifts with my parents. It was intense, but it was, it gave me a heart to understand, that it's all choice. It's just, and it's my choice. So.
Oh, that's so good. There's so much there. I'm like, I want to just dive into all of it. First I want to start off with how the guidance counselor said, you're never going to be a pilot.
Yeah.
Right? And
yeah.
that, and for everyone who's listening right now, there has been so many times, even in my life, and there's probably times in your life where someone's told you, oh no, don't even think about going that path. You're not cut out for that. And think about how the choice, we can pivot it towards using as motivation, like Rico did. Like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I don't know how, but I'm going to do it. Or, sometimes it takes us whew, it goes the downward direction. So we get to choose. I sing that very on. You made a choice. No matter what anyone tells us, we still can choose our dream.
Yeah.
Right? No matter the grades, anything, our current situation, we can do it.
But she was actually right. She was actually right, because I got turned down for the first time that I applied for flight school for the military. So in some ways she was right. But I just reapplied. It was just one of those things that
You keep going.
Keep going. And I'm a person. My dad, in spite of the intensity, I had a lot of wisdom from my parents.
Yeah.
And my dad said, "Son, we're always going to love you, no matter what you do, no matter where you go. You can always come back home." And Mom felt the same way. And it was one of those things where they said he used to say, they can't take it away from you.
Yeah.
And so, I'd much rather have given it my best effort all the way around. And perhaps, there's a lot of timing in life too. And if it hadn't worked out, I'd have the satisfaction of knowing that I put my heart and soul into it. And for whatever reason, because there's an age limit in aviation, in the military, it's 28. You have to be in flight school. 28 and a half is the oldest they're going to accept you in flight school.
Okay.
And so there's a limit there, that's typically hard and fast. So I could have flown other airplanes, but I really wanted to fly fighters and stuff in the military and have my hair on fire and do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was always, it was always, my parents always encouraged me no matter what to give it my best effort. And if it doesn't work out, then you can just walk away from it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that helps anybody who's in that kind of a position now or not.
It's good. It's good for, well, first, I'm glad that you had, even though I feel we all suffer some intense childhoods, no matter,
Yeah.
Potatoes, potatoes, we all kind of interpret our childhood in some ways, but it sounds like you had some really good footing, some really positive, encouraging words in between that stuck with you.
Yeah.
And so I love how you're sharing that with us. Now, for those that are like, they want to be happy, Rico. They really
Yeah.
do. And so could you share, but there's barriers. There's some blocks there. Did you suffer from any, that you can remember, any fear and resistance
Oh,
back
huge.
in the day that like kept you from
Huge.
being happy, would you say? Were
Oh,
you ever
yeah.
like down in some parts of your life where it was like, what am I doing?
Yeah, I was crushed. I mean, I grew up in Pennsylvania, and I had to go to school out in Colorado, and the high school girlfriend said that doesn't work for me. And so, I mean, it's her choice, but I was totally crushed by that. But the gift in that was, it took a long time to get over it. But the gift in that is, I had to rebuild my life without her. And that was the gift. I had to find out who I was instead of sharing an identity with somebody. Not that was, I mean, I'm not saying she's a bad person. I'm just saying that,
Yeah.
I had invested my identity with her, and, we were probably one of the most likely couples to get married kind of things, in your high school class. And it fell apart. And I was crushed by that. I almost left flight school, or preparing for flight school, for that.
From the
But
heartbreak.
there's something deep down inside of me that I don't know. Well, I actually have my dad to thank for it, because he never spoke much, but he knew how to ask the right questions.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, and one night when I was home on spring break, he asked the right question, and at night in the dark, and I'm at the other, sitting in a chair across the room, and you don't want to listen to your parents when you're a sophomore in high school, or sophomore in college, and he asked the right question. And I swore. I said yes. I said, "Oh shit, okay, I'll stick with it."
What did he say? What was the question?
Oh, the question?
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of time. But
Okay.
he listened to me. He said, "So, what do you want to do with your life?" Which, that's about the only time. My dad didn't never talk to me much. We'd go fishing and stuff, but there was never anything about life
Yeah.
overall. And I said, I want to travel. Now, I'm from a real small coal mining town, a couple hours from Pittsburgh. So he says, now, if you leave what you're doing right now with the military, and you come back to Pennsylvania, how are you going to travel? And how are you going to pay for your college? There's 5 kids, and you're going to have to pay for college. I said, well, I said, just climb on my motorcycle and I'll go for a ride. And he says, when are you going to do that? Where are you going to work? So I'm going to work in a steel mill. I'll make good money during the summer, and then he says, and so then you're going to leave work a little bit early to go ride before school starts. I said, yeah. He says, where are you going to go? I said, Chicago, Washington, D.C., New York City. I'm from a small town.
Yeah.
He goes, okay. He goes, where have you been so far since you've been with the military? I said, well, I've been to L.A., Seattle, Fort Lauderdale, New York City, and, all over Colorado. And he goes, he says, where are you going this summer with the military? I said, I'll be flying out to the Far East, Hawaii, Okinawa, Japan. And so his question was, I think you're seeing it, Erica. His question was, so what kind of travel do you want to do? And the light turned on. Do you want to bust my tail on a motorcycle going to Chicago on I-70? Or do I want to fly around the world? And that's all he needed to say. That's what I said. I said, oh shit, I'll stay. Pardon my language. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was as intense as it was. The parents knew how to ask the right questions,
Oh, that's
and they
good.
never told me what to do. One time I was in LA and on a spring break and I wanted to come home, and all they wouldn't tell me yes or no. They said, you got the money? I said, well, yeah, but it's going to cost me money to. They said, well, if you want to come home, spend the money. You can't take it with you. But there were times I just wanted to reach through the phone and choke them, going like,
Yeah.
tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. But they never did. And so I think that probably strengthened my Just Do Choices when I recognized the Just Do Choices element in my life, with those kids, with the elementary school kids. When I recognized that's basically what the guidance counselor had given me, was the opportunity to recognize that. Then
Yeah.
it all made sense. So, but I still have my challenges today where I have to think about which choice am I going to make.
Yeah. Yep.
So I hope I'm not taking this off track with that
No,
story.
this is good. You're human. I love bringing it back to personally like this. I love all the wisdom you're giving to us because, everything that you were even taught, like, I feel like your upbringing is also like, I'm absorbing some of that. I have young children. There's always children around all of us. And we tend to sometimes bark orders because we know better, as the adults. And so, it's like, just do this or just do that. And so actually extending the options, extending questions and them being able to process and find their creativity, this will set them off for a much better, adult life where you have to make decisions in the first place,
Right.
and so it's like, gosh, there's so much in that. So I thank you. We're not off course. That was brilliant. I'm sure helped so many of us. So heartbreak was one of your things, and I'm sure that was painful. I'm sure you sat
Oh,
with
yeah.
it. It almost affected so many of your decisions. What happened? Was there a specific thing that helped you break through that, down moment, that heartbreak you were suffering from? Was there any specific thing that rings a bell that kind of got you through that?
Well, at first I would say, before I started to read about positive, thinking and those kinds of things, at first it was just pure raw determination.
Mm,
Just pure raw. This is what I want to do, and I'm going to do my very best to make it happen. And
yeah,
and then later on, as I started to explore personal development, kinds of subjects, is when I was able to articulate things better.
yeah.
And and so, but that took probably 15 or 20 years just to, because
Mm,
I'd read a book here, read a book there, and I'd have different ideas come to mind for myself. But I never really was a fan of anybody in particular's content. Um, I had three programs, but I'll just tell you about two of them. One of the ones, the first one that led to Just Two Choices, actually was a formula called Dreams plus Action equals Reality. And I
mm,
actually started teaching that in schools. And I kept saying in the action part of the formula to the fourth and fifth graders, there are just two choices that are going to take you in this action part. Just two choices of action. One's going to take you closer to, and one's going to take you further from. And so I kind of drew a diagram like
yeah,
this for the
yeah.
kids, because kids can't do death by PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm.
So they gotta, you just gotta put a picture up there for them. So I drew that. Then after a while, I said, oh, that's an idea for a book.
Yeah.
And so my first book was called Dreams Plus Action Equals Reality. It was for kids, but it was from working with kids that I was able to come up with this format here, this visual format of just two choices. So in every moment, happiness being at the top of the blue arrow and sadness being at the bottom, we're always at this choice point. I
Yeah.
mean, reality is always here. You can't go into the past by 5 seconds. You can't go into the future by 5 seconds. Our
Mm,
future starts in the present moment, right here, with
yeah.
every choice. And so I know it's not easy to say, I choose to be happy when you're not feeling happy. It's just that sooner or later, we're going to get tired of saying, I'm not happy, going down this route here, the
Yeah.
choice two direction. And
Yeah.
because of flying, aviation is all visual. It's a one giant infographic in a cockpit. And so infographics I've read teach 60,000 times faster than words. So we need to have that instant feedback when you're flying a jet. You need to have that instant feedback going hundreds of miles an hour of the performance of the airplane and everything that's going on around you. And so you're always assessing something visual for your analysis, whether it's fuel, hydraulics, jet engine, the heat, the temperature of the engine, the oil pressure. It's always just a visual indicator. Is it in limits or out of limits? That's it. Overall, when you think about it. But that's what life is. Life is just two choices. In every moment, am I consistently making those positive choices toward my dream or goal in the blue direction? Or am I making them in the other direction?
Yeah.
And so happiness is up here, of course. And so I know this sounds simple. And a lot of people will say, and I've had it happen on interviews before, they go, well, that's kind of Pollyanna. That's kind of BS. It's, how are you going to make that happen? I had one guy in an interview busting my chops say, so Rico, if I tell you that just two choices is just too simple, how are you going to answer that? And I said, Zeke, I'm going to answer. I know it's going to sound like I'm being a wise guy, but I'm going to say just two choices. You can make life as complicated as you want, or you can make it as easy as you want. And if you choose to, and but that goes for all of us.
Totally.
Again, it sounds overly simplified, but there are just two choices at every moment. We're going to complicate our life, or we're going to make it easier for ourselves. And it just takes practice. It's just like working out, getting in shape.
And I love how so you reached, it looks like when we're heading down, okay, we're making choices, and now these choices are like habitual, right? And we're just kind of on autopilot doing these things.
Well said. Yeah.
Right? And then
thank you.
we eventually hit a point like you did. You reached a point, and we now are at a point to make another decision. And so when we hit rock bottom, sometimes, we're going through life and like, man, we're just like sick and tired of being sick and tired and finding ourselves right here. It's like when we smash, it's like, boom, now what can we do? Right? So we reached a point, yours was 15, 20 years later of sitting in heartbreak, going through stuff. And then you were like, I'm making a decision, right? I'm going upward in this department of my life. Like, I'm going to go this way. And that's what, like everyone, I always say, blue pen, white paper, please be taking notes here. I know you can replay, but this is some good stuff, you guys. We got to know when we hit rock bottom, we're at another position. Our wheels have slowed down enough to where, okay, restart somewhere. And what you're going to choose, it's up to you.
Yeah, we're always at a choice point. I have 3 statements that I use every single day that maybe will help the audience.
Yeah.
I use them every day, no matter. Sometimes I wake up in just pure overwhelm, like everybody else, and just go, no more than a minute goes by, and you're already feeling the weight of the day, And so I have 3 phrases. The first phrase is, I say, I choose to. So I choose to be frustrated. I choose to be overwhelmed. When I'm overwhelmed, I say, I choose to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because the word choice fills the gap. If you say I'm overwhelmed, there's no ownership there.
Yeah.
But when you say I choose to feel overwhelmed, now I own it. Derek is not making me feel overwhelmed. I'm making myself feel overwhelmed. And so I'll start off with I choose to. And then I add to the phrase, I choose to tell my news story of. And so if I'm overwhelmed, I choose to tell my new story of how I'm going to find one thing to get started on right away.
Yeah, I'm writing this down. This is good.
And I keep saying that phrase over and over again. I choose to tell my new story. I choose to tell my new story, because life's just a story. And every minute and every instant of life, it's a nonstop, seamless storytelling, And so am I going to continue to tell that story of being frustrated? Am I going to continue to tell it, or am I going to tell a new story? So it comes down to, what I've drawn out here is tell your new story or tell your old story. What are you going to do?
That's good.
And so, and then if I'm in a pity party mood for myself, I just say, dude, just 2 choices. And I don't give myself any slack whatsoever. But most of the time I go to I choose to tell my new story, because I feel a new story is a nice way of helping me to shift my vibration to a more uplifted state. So those are I use them every day, every one of those techniques. If I find myself frustrated with technology or something comes in the mail or whatever I'm doing, I just tell it I'm going to tell a new story about this, because that's all it's just, life's just a story. And again, I'm not trying to oversimplify as much as getting people to be able to get traction because of how simple things are. And can I add one other thing?
Yes.
Um, I personally think that an old habit, this phrase, for example, you got to break that habit.
Uh-huh.
I consider that to be a myth, because here's the cool thing about choice, about just two choices. I mean, the whole thing. It's like a computer's binary, either 0 or 1.
Uh-huh.
And so the cool thing is that whenever you start telling your new story, you de-energize telling your old story. So you get like a double benefit, you see?
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
never break an old habit, just start a new habit.
Oh,
So instead of saying I have to break my old habit of overeating,
yeah.
start a new habit of eating better. You see can you feel the power in that?
Yes.
There's yeah, and there's not resistance. And so these ideas of I got to release fear and resistance, or sometimes I've got to break down some old
Beat it
barriers.
up and yeah.
Yeah, try pull the positive opposite.
That's good. That
And
is so good.
what I recommend people to do too is take this, just draw this kind of a diagram. You'll get it in the downloads,
Good.
if you take the free downloads. But just write down all the things that you don't like about what's going on in your life down here in the bottom half. Just write them down and number them. And then write the positive opposite, so that in the future, what you're going to be doing is all you're going to do is talk about the
Yeah.
positive opposite. So take all the stuff that's crappy in your life, write it all down there, get it out of your system, and then just write a positive opposite. And then
Oh,
only give your attention to choosing the positive opposite statement as a new story. The
that's
other one has to go away because you're not energizing it anymore.
yeah. When you take your energy, attention off of it,
Yes,
and you
exactly.
focus, right? You just shifted gears. There's nothing to fight. It's gone. It's done.
Right,
You're pivoted over here. I love that. That goes to like not resisting it, because what you resist persists, right? So
right.
if you're just like, nope, I don't gotta beat you up anymore. I don't gotta put you down. I'm just gonna totally turn the other cheek. And I also want to talk about, this does seem so simple. It is simple, but it's not simple until we practice and practice. Like anything that we
Like anything.
master, walking, riding a bike, language. I mean, every single thing was intense. It was challenging learning. So in the beginning, we're slapping ourselves like, hey, come on, set alarms. And, like, gosh, let's do this. Everything we learn new. So yes, you guys, it's going to be rough. We're not sugarcoating it. It's going to be tough in the beginning, for a
Well,
while.
what's interesting is, though, we've all been using just two choices all of our lives.
Yeah.
And we are where we are in life because nobody talks about choice. They talk about take positive action, but positive action is a choice. And so I think we're moving to a new level of consciousness in humanity, where humanity's owning their choices. I choose to. Can you feel the difference in the power? Because exactly what you said, the energy flow, the choice is what directs the energy to flow one way or the other.
Yeah.
And so, that's the beauty of knowing about choice now. And I mean, choice is as close as our phones.
Mm-hmm.
Choice is as close as, you want to change your dream or your goal. No longer do you have to, like the Wright brothers had to write to the Smithsonian to get information about airplanes,
Right.
to build it in 1903, to build the first airplane. You know, you just go and you click, just tap on your phone. That's how close choice is these days. So I think we're accelerating beyond take positive action, which I am so grateful for Norman Vincent Peale and Napoleon Hill and Dale Carnegie for all emphasizing and building that foundation. It's just they built the bridge to the next one, which is choice. It's all my choice. I have to own everything I do,
Yes.
because how I choose is how I vibrate, right?
Yes.
And how I vibrate is how I attract, law of attraction,
Mm-hmm.
or magnetize into my life.
Yeah.
And so we're like liquid crystal tuning forks. So
Mm-hmm.
everything that we choose, and this is why happiness as a recipe is so important, because when we choose happiness, our whole world around us changes incredibly. But why is it changing? It's because of the choice first. But
Yeah.
overall, it's changing because the vibration is changing.
Mm-hmm.
Your vibration of happiness has you walking down the street, and other people are feeling that vibe in the store or where you're walking and going, hey, there's something different about Erica. Or when you walk up to the counter, somebody treats you, very, very well because they're feeling that vibe. They're feeling that excited vibe. And
Yeah.
so, but it all starts with choice. But the bigger picture is it's choice of vibration. but that's for another discussion.
But I love it. I'm always, let's drop these seeds because everybody's on a different spectrum of this awareness somewhere, and
Yeah.
it's the truth. We are these vibrating beings. Everything is energy, and what we put our
Yes.
attention on, just like any radio tower you see, you turn it to a station, it's blasting a frequency, and what you throwing out, you're picking up. And so if we're choosing to throw out that happiness, we're going to be picking up people, places, things, circumstances, situations of the like frequency, right? So
Yeah.
that's crazy and mind blowing, I know. But starting with just the choice, you guys, let's start there. You got to know how powerful you are. Maybe that'll motivate you. That motivated the crap out of me when I knew I was the creator of my reality. Whoa, right? And it all starts with what's going on up there.
Yeah.
So we got to hear this, that we're not going too deep. I think this is very good.
I was blessed when I had a Just Two Choices radio show for 2 years,
Yeah.
2015 to 2017. So uh, I was so blessed. The guy could get interviews with celebrities. So I said, I'd love to interview celebrities and ask just one question at the end of the 30 minutes. And he says, well, what's that one question? I said, nobody's going to believe Rico Racosky when I answer this question. But when you hear Roger Staubach, or you hear Dee Wallace, who starred in E.T. and all those 200-something movies, and you hear Olympic gold medalists and athletes and actors and musicians answer this question, like Roger Staubach answering it from the Dallas Cowboys, then you believe them, but you don't believe. I mean, it's just me,
Well, now
So
we
I went
do. Hey.
yeah. Well, I have to tell you, the strategy was to build a database. So I interviewed 40 celebrities, and the most interesting answer to this question
Yeah.
was I asked Rudy Rudiger, who came up with the movie Rudy years ago, at playing football at Notre Dame. I said, and I asked them, every celebrity, the same question. And they all said, ooh, good question. What percentage of life is choice? And what percentage of life is circumstance? Now, surprisingly, Roger Staubach, MVP, Heisman Trophy winner, thought that life was only 40% choice, 60% circumstance.
Oh, wow.
Although he's such a humble guy that he said, well, I was blessed. I was an only child. My parents stayed together. I had great coaches, great schools. He complimented everybody who helped him along his way. And he says, there are a lot of kids who don't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
And Robert Kiyosaki from Rich Dad, Poor Dad
Love them.
said 100% choice. Dee Wallace, 100% choice. I asked Rudy Rudiger, and in that South Chicago style of saying things, Rudy goes, well, considering that your circumstances are where you are, and you got there by making choices, and every moment is a new circumstance, then life has to be 100% choice. I thought it was a brilliant answer, actually.
Well
And so-
said. Yes.
And so, folks, everybody listening, including myself, I have to remind myself where I'm standing right now. I got here by choice, and when this interview's complete, I'm going to be going to wherever I'm going to do whatever I'm doing by choice. But it's my choice. Now, there might be influences, but it still comes down to whether or not I choose to participate in whatever that influence is, or I choose to ignore it, or not listen to it, which goes back to your earlier statement about someone telling you that you can't live your dream or your goal. That still comes back to it's your choice. And I'll add one thing. It just came to mind, Erica.
Yeah.
I think my parents knew that if they ever told me to quit, I think they knew that if I quit, I wouldn't be happy, and I'd probably end up blaming them. My parents said it was okay for me to still not go after my dream, and now I'm frustrated. I mean, I could flop over during this interview. I've just been so blessed because of living my dream, feeling that fulfilled. Now that I can express as best I can express the fulfillment that you feel in your life for having walked the path and not turned your back on it, whether it's to kids or to adults. I could just flop over in 3 seconds and just cut me off,
This
or
is good.
end the interview there. But, my parents knew, I think, overall, that in fact, that's why they treated all the kids. I think they knew that if they didn't let the choices be up to us, then at some point they're probably going to not that they were afraid it was going to turn back on them, that they felt we'd have regret
Yeah.
that we didn't try.
Gosh, there's that coin can go so many ways. Like, without giving you choice, it could be enabling you. It
Right.
could just steal we see that with kids. They're this power kind of taken away from them, and they're waiting on others to make decisions for them. And, so yeah, you had a very strong footing. That's so inspiring. Like, I really love that.
Another thing that happened in the family, if we have time for it, can I tell you another story?
We got a few more minutes, and I want to get into that juicy gift you're giving.
Okay. I was a few years ago. I was at dinner at my parents' house in Pennsylvania, and my mom said to me quietly, because I was the only one home of the 5 kids,
Yeah.
and she said, because we've all moved away, and she goes, just because that's life,
Yeah.
we've all just grown up and done our thing, and she says, son, why don't you talk about what happened when we were growing up? And she said it in a very concerned and loving way. I said, Mom, I can reenact it if I want to. I said, but I was working on the Just Two Choices book at the time. I said, but Mom, I've learned that there are just two choices. And the energy that I put into giving attention to being a victim of circumstance
Yeah.
is energy I can't invest in my books and in my flying, because choice is mutually exclusive. So, you guys taught me a lot of skills, even though it was intense, I learned a lot. It's just that it's my choice how I want to direct that energy. And I don't want to go into the victimhood category. I want to go into living my dream or my goal. And I can't do both at the same time. I have to commit to one or the other. And so, Mom, she looked at me kind of like she just started hearing about Just Two Choices. So she kind of looked at me a little different. But like I said, later on at some point, she'd say, remember Just Two Choices? Okay, Mom,
Yeah.
I get it.
That
You're
had to
right.
have been extremely proud moment as a mom. Like, if I had, when you're talking, I was imagining one of my sons saying that, and I'm just like, my heart is just swelling. Like, that would be incredible to have your children inherit that, because the choice is either you're going to be victor or victim in your life.
Yes. Yes.
Right? So it's like, yeah, we can't be both. We can't, and we can't live in the past. We got to be able to see it. I was homeless growing up. I was raised by a single mother on welfare and saw all the different types of abuse growing up. And now it's like, well, that's motivation. That's empowerment that,
Exactly.
right? I can come from that.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you. God bless you.
Thank you. But at one point I was pissed at the world. I was the victim. I was mad. I didn't choose this, and all that. And I'm like, no, I did. Even at 2 years old, I am a chooser, and that's how I choose to see my life. And so, you guys, blue pen, you guys, this is really good, Rico. I am loving where you took this conversation.
You're very kind.
Woo, this is great. You guys, do you want to recap that happy hack you talked about? I just want to review it one more time with the audience, that when you're in a crappy place, right? You wake up on the wrong side of the bed, whatever. You got triggered. You think about something. Now we're down. What Rico said was, I choose to be down. I choose to be sad. I choose to be angry. Like, acknowledge what you're going through at that moment, and that you take your power back by saying, I have chosen to be angry. And then that next thing you said was that now I choose to tell my new story of being calm or being peace, being happy. So I choose my new story. It's like I'm switching a new identity.
Right.
But it's in that pivot point, that awareness where you stand in power and responsibility, and it's like a shift, right?
And you could say, I choose to tell my new story that I'm going to have 2 exciting phone calls by noon. You see what I mean? There's
Yeah.
all different, and leave it open.
Ooh.
But it shifts the energy away from that. Or something good's going to happen by 11 o'clock. I don't know who I'm going to get a call from. I don't know who I'm going to get an email from or a text message from, but it's going to be uplifting. And so run the energy that direction. I choose to look for that.
Yeah. One of my greatest mentors always said, how people predict the future is because they create it, and that was my mentor, Kevin Trudeau. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's how we predict it. So if you're saying, I choose that 2 brilliant things are going to happen to me today, you set your intention, you put that out there, and I shoot you not, something really good. There's going to be some amazing things, big or small, just like you're going to take note that, whoa, It did.
I,
It
I
did.
and I recommend for people to write those down, because just as you're talking about, you'll start to now be looking for the good that's happening
Mm.
instead of looking for the overwhelm and looking for the frustration. It'll shift your vibration,
Yeah.
which means you're going to attract more happiness and more joy. But if you write it down, maybe it's only one today and one tomorrow, or you skip a day, but you're going to start to see that momentum,
Yeah.
that momentum build.
That's
And
that's beautiful. Get a two choice book, you guys. Put this title in two choices on top, and you can see if I choose this way, and write those choices down, and there it is right there. Draw
happy or not
that.
happy.
Yeah. And then like see your manifestations. I have a journal book where I blast things out there and I'll come back to it and I go, oh my goodness, this page number 2 happened.
Yeah.
So sometimes I mean that builds confidence and power in creating that new habit.
All of life is powered by choice. It happens at the speed of choice.
Yeah.
So may the choice be with you.
That's perfect. Rico, I love this. You and I could talk for days. I could feel it. This is so
Thank
good.
you. Same here. I enjoy it too. Very
Love
much.
it. Rico, can you tell us what you are actually gifting away to our audience?
Yes, I'm going to gift away. There's 3 items in one download, and the first one is going. Oh, I didn't bring it here, but the first one is going to be. There's just 2 choices everywhere. Your credit card's just 2 choices. It's either declined or it's approved, right? A stop sign is just 2 choices. You either stop all the way, or you don't, or you roll through the stop sign. An open and close sign on a store from here on out. Remember, it's open or closed. Those are just 2 choices. So I created an open and close sign that you can download. On one side, it's green and it has open, and it has the just 2 choices diagram on it. And it says, I choose to be open to new and better relationships, or I choose to be open to, more financial wealth and abundance. So you always want to hang that up. You cut it out and you fold it in half. The red side is the close sign, and the green side is the open sign. So hang that up so you're always seeing the phrase that says, I choose to be open. And it has the just 2 choices diagram on it, so you'll be able to see it. The other one is what I call Captain Hookia diagram. And it's, let's see here. If on the just 2 choices diagram, it looks like this. Down here at the bottom where you see the red arrow, I have a picture of a character that looks kind of like a Captain Hook. And that's where you get hooked into your same old stuff. So there's a Captain Hook on here, image here, but I actually hung that in my car and got rid of my road drama. I used to have road drama, not road rage, but I used to have road drama, or I can't believe this guy cut me off, and I'd say a lot of very, bad words. And one day I just said, Rico, you know how this works. Just 2 choices. You can either be upset or you can be happy. So you're the one who's making yourself upset, not the guy who cut you off.
Yeah.
And so I hung that Captain Hookie up in my car, and I'd see it. I'd go for a long time without it happening. But I caught myself. I've had somebody not too long ago cut across like 4 lanes. They thread the needle, and all I said was, "Ooh, that was close." I didn't get upset. I didn't try to do
Nice.
anything. I've never given anybody international hand signs signals, but it's so that's the other one you'll get. So you can hang it up to remind yourself you're backsliding in your weight, you're backsliding away from your financial abundance, you're backsliding in a relationship, that you want to be making a choice one toward more happiness with. You can hang that one up, cut it out and hang it up. And the last thing is chapter 1 of the book and the welcome. That's all you need to know. You don't even have to buy the book. In fact, the cover of the book says it all. But if you just read chapter 1, you'll be well on your way to making your life into a choice life. And last recommendation would be, as you walk around your day, say, I choose to wear this blue shirt. I choose to wear this black top that you have on. There's probably 10 tops in the closet that you could have, but you chose that black one. Yeah. So say I choose to have a cup of coffee. I choose to whatever, have this to eat. So now you can feel the energy flow connecting with what you're choosing, whether it's good or bad, whether it supports your dream or doesn't support your dream, like eating the tasty cake cupcakes or something, say, I choose to eat these tasty cake or I choose to eat this ice cream.
Yeah.
And
Gives
so,
your power back. That's beautiful. That's perfect, you guys. May you never be the same after this show. This was so good and so many levels. I mean, seeds have been sown everywhere on this show. I'm loving it. Thank you, Rico, so much for your
Thank you,
time
Jennifer.
here, the wisdom, the nuggets of gold, just the love that you poured into this interview. I can feel it.
Thank you.
It was amazing. And
It's an honor and
everyone,
privilege.
thank you, thank you. The links will be onto this video, you guys. So the links to those 3 free gifts and how you can contact Rico and check more in on him will be all tied to this video. And please do follow Instagram. I'm sure you're on all those social media platforms. Check him out, follow him. This is amazing. And thank you guys for being here and spending this whole hour with us.
Thank you,
Let us
guys.
know. Yeah. Let us know how you felt. I'll make sure and get it to Rico. You guys have a lovely day. May you never be the same. And here's the happiness.
Here's to happiness.